So now, session 4, the challenge of data in the world of sustainable finance. Well, we are in the age of data. And as you can see on the screen, our speakers are Elisa Alonso Sanz, the Chief Executive Officer of Kneip, and Mario Mantrisi, the Chief Product and Strategy Officer. Please welcome them both.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon. No, we don't. Thank you. So good afternoon, and thank you very much for taking time to listen to us today. So I'm very honored to be with our CEO, Elisa, who joined us recently, I think July the 1st. Maybe it's a good occasion for you, Elisa, to present yourselves to the community in Luxembourg. I think a lot of people know you, but if I may ask to do that, to start.
Thank you, Mario. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope we all have a nice coffee break. So as all of you know, I am, for those who do not know me, I am the Chief Executive Officer of Kneip. So I started the 1st of July. I'm coming from the industry, so I've been in asset management and asset servicing and wealth management for more than 25 years plus. And we leave it there. I've been working in different jurisdictions, in Paris, in Amsterdam, but Luxembourg is my home. And when Kneip knocked at my door for the data business, I said, well, this is something that I'm really looking forward to it.
Okay, thanks, Elisa. So let's start maybe, because we are lucky you were until recently in the asset management industry and you were the Chief Operating Officer in ABN AMRO. So when it comes to ESG, I think we obviously faced the times of implementing ESG, SFDR. Could you share what was the experience? What would you say now as going through this phase? What were the challenges you were facing during that period?
So I think when I was the Chief Operating Officer of ABN AMRO Asset Management, ESG journey was starting. So there was a frenzy in the market about ESG and sustainability. And wherever foreign you go, there was everybody shifting in terms of structuring the funds to be able to do ESG and sustainable funds. There was huge discussions about how to categorize the funds, Article 9, Article 8, Article 8+, Article 6, what the investors really is the investor appetite. At the beginning, I'm talking about 2020, 2021, there was a huge inflows on the ESG landscape. And then one of the first challenges that we face, a part of the categorization of the funds and the endless discussions that we had, it was like, for the data, in terms of vendors, my teams, even we created an ESG team. So in the financial researchers, there were people dedicated to ESG in terms of investment advisors. And these people were asking me for a lot of data. But ISS was not sufficient, Morningstar was not sufficient, Clarity AI was not sufficient. Then we had a lot of discussions with the small companies that they were providing us certain data points to be able to produce SFDR requirements or the ESG fact sheets. Then there was discussions about ESG benchmark, yes or no. Then there was discussions about ESG alpha, yes or no. So in terms of, and I don't speak Dutch, but that was what I remember from those active discussions. So obviously, there was about the data vendors were not sufficient for this, the demand of data that we needed to be able to differentiate at that time towards the investors. Then there was also the different interpretation on the regulation. And here I will be very cautious with my words. So SFDR and taxonomy and everything what is about sustainable investment, the regulation in certain countries is interpreted in a different way. And then you have different appetite from the investors. In the Nordics and in certain countries, they really want Article 9 and Article 8 funds. Well, you move to other jurisdictions, they are more open to Article 6. So you have the data vendors as a challenge. Then you have also the investors' appetite that is not always the same in different countries. And when you are running a global business, you need to consider this into the equation. And now I think, last but not least, is about the expertise. I remember, and I'm happy to see so many women around, because usually asset management is very, there is a gender domination there, let's put it that way. And what we see right now in the ESG, I saw a very young people coming into the ESG analysts to be able to raise the voice about how it was important for us. So different challenges in the asset management industry. Now we see, because it's a short-term type of industry, and it shouldn't be like that, that we are losing a bit the frenzy and the focus there. And this is something that perhaps later on in one of the questions we will address that. But it was a bumpy road, for sure, this implementation.
So, thanks. That was very interesting, especially what you said about the dynamics, which I think is, yes, which is something we are seeing in the space. I pretty much agree to that. Now, we will come back a little bit more on the data aspect, but I wanted to ask you, Elisa, when you came to the group, so obviously Kneip is part of Deutsche Börse Group. So, if you look at groups like this, what are they doing in the sustainable field? And looking at your eyes, because obviously you know the domain from an investment field. So what is Deutsche Börse and Kneip doing in the domain of sustainability and ESG?
I think Deutsche Börse and Kneip, we are taking extremely serious about ESG and sustainable and responsible investment. We just issued a new strategy, which is covering all the elements, I think. In terms of climate, we really are committing to be carbon neutral in 2045. And then we are reducing the carbon emissions, and we are monitoring them. I think we also have set up, a sustainable manager, that Mirta probably is the one that is just sitting next to us. She's the true expert, setting up a KPI framework in order to monitor the CO2. We also, in business, we need to act properly and with conscience, the duty of care. So the social element and the social impact, and it's quite important. We also believe in diversity and inclusion, and today the fact that we are sitting here in this diverse environment is really a commitment towards diversity, equity, and inclusion. We have concrete KPIs. In Kneip, we are, in the leadership team, we are around 48% women. I can tell you that at Deutsche Börse is only 18%, and our target is 35%. So, but diversity is not only about women and gender diversity. I'm talking about cultural diversity. How many nationalities? The more nationalities we have around, the more we think differently and we bring an additional perspective. And I think one of the most diverse countries is Luxembourg. How many nationalities do we have? If you go in the tram and people are talking different type of nationalities. So I think Deutsche Börse and Kneip, and Kneip is a data company. And there I go a bit more deeper. You know that our data centers, because I presume everybody knows that data is consuming tons of electricity, megatons and megabytes, So we have our data centers are here in Luxembourg, one of them, and all the energy, 100% is renewable energy. And I'm very happy about that because, I was raised in Alicante, which is a city in the Mediterranean, and 25 years ago, when you were swimming, I'm a swimmer, I love swimming. So when you see something crystalline at that time, imagine me with 25 years less. So when something was crystalline in the sea, you were like, oops, jellyfish, be careful, Elisa, you just need to go on the other direction. At the day of today, if you swim in the Mediterranean, when you see something crystalline, it's not a jellyfish anymore, it's plastic. So this is something that it is a fact, and I'm just sharing with you. And I think that's the reason why the compromise of Deutsche Börse and Kneip, it makes me very proud. And this is the first thing that I asked Mirta our energy, is it renewable or not? How much are we polluting the planet? Because our carbon footprint is there. So commitment, engagement.
Great, that's very clear. Thank you. Now, Elisa, coming a little bit back to technology and data, which is one, obviously, of the topic we're discussing today. So, I mean, everybody knows that technology is since ever, but going forward, probably the asset people are investing, and then the data element. So, looking also of your past experience as in the asset management industry. So how do you see the future of technology and data generally, and maybe related also to the ESG and sustainable space?
I think, obviously, there is no brainer that we are facing digital revolution at maximum. I think what is going on right now with all of the latest digital disruption, even is disruptive and the disruption about machine learning, disruption about artificial intelligence, the disruption about computing, nanotechnologies. I mean, nanotechnologies is making something 9 times smaller, right? To be able to have much more speed processing. Speed processing means that the temperature of the laptops, they go very high. I mean, a laptop can go to 80 degrees Celsius in terms of... so then imagine yourself in a data center with tons of IBM power managing all this data like water. The turbine goes to a certain degree of, in terms of temperature, that you need a lot of cooling system to be able to deal with the data centers. So I think where we are going to, and you know, there are articles about that we should, I mean, technology, we cannot stop it. It's happening right now. And we are bringing this technology at all levels, especially companies right now in asset management are trying to build these platforms, new systems that are much more rapid in terms of response. And with nanotechnology, nanocomputers, and all the data business is really full in this like water. So, and in that respect, you know, for instance, when you compute a value at risk, when I was a young consultant, again, I come back to my 25 years ago, we were able to, in Microsoft Excel, Mrs. Excel, we were able to run a value at risk, maybe, and that was 1,000 iterations, and it was like running for hours, maybe. With nanotechnology and real-time type of you know, digital systems, you would be able to do it in seconds. So I think the whole finance industry, I'm sure also you have seen that T+1, so it means that when we are settling the transactions, before was T+3, well, in India was T+6 months. But we are all going to the same direction, right? Which is really that technology is really a disruptor it can be supportive also. But to channel all of that in terms of data and coming back to ESG, we need to be more responsible than ever. Because obviously, the more data, the more digital we become, the more electricity and the more polluting we will become. So I think there is a direct positive correlation there. So we need to be extra responsible, Mario.
That's very good. So that means asking you the question then when it comes to Kneip. So how could we then, and maybe share with the audience, how could we then support the clients with the data challenges? What could you already mention after your 4 months, 5 months with us, what you have seen?
4 months. You know, I think I was explaining that all the regulatory environment to disclose the sustainable, responsible investment, it forced the asset management industry and other companies also to be able to request a lot of data and to be able to prepare the regulatory reporting, okay? So SFDR, taxonomy, there are a lot of, I think the European Union is doing a lot of effort for making sure that we have disclosures and we have transparencies in all of the elements of the investments. So Kneip is it's a company, as a data company, we are able to support you in terms of regulatory reporting. We offer SFDRs and other type of reports. So we are able to ingest that data and produce those reports. I think also collecting that data, I was explaining before, if you look at an ESG fact sheet, it has, you know, depending on the level of granularity that you want to explain to the investor, there is a lot of data points that you need to collect. And data points that can come from Morningstar, ISS, maybe there is a particular model that your analyst team is asking for the pies. So you need to be able to collect that data to be able to come with a meaningful document for the investors. And I think this is something that we are positioning Kneip also not only in regulatory reporting, but also in client reporting. What I see in terms of client reporting could be investors and to bring this material to them. But we also can help you to collect that data. I think data is a business that everybody is trying to position themselves in terms of data management and data collection. So Kneip, we have 129 experts, very motivated people. I think the average is 37 years old. So Mario and I, we are completely above average. A part of that, I think, you know, sitting with clients and bringing solutions, and maybe there are other solutions, and that's what we open-minded business mindset.
Yeah, yeah, in terms of the average, I'm obviously keeping the average of age higher in the company. That's for sure, much more than you, Elisa. But I think it's one point also is the accuracy of data. What we see very much in the space of ESG and sustainable is, first of all, I mean, getting the data can be a challenge, especially on non-listed companies. So that's a big challenge to get the data. And then, of course, the question is always about the accuracy. And if you get not the correct data in, your result will be, of course, different. So at the end of the day, it's interesting. We're looking at things like AI, for instance. Everybody speaks about that. But you also need to keep in mind that the data, whatever data you are working with, even if you use AI, if your data is incoherent, what will come out of the AI will be incoherent. So I think that's something which, yeah, you mentioned before as well, but this is something which I think we see, especially still in the ESG and sustainable space, that it's not yet maybe at the maturity. But the other point you always, I think, which could be interesting to share and hear your thoughts is on data analytics, is something which obviously I know of at least that Elisa, we discussed this a lot. I think it would be interesting to share a little bit what's your vision on data analytics, and also maybe, once again, in the space of ESG, SFDR, will there be possibilities in terms of analytics, so going once you have the data and what we can do with it?
I think before perhaps going to analytics, I think is what you said is this is right now the Achilles heel of the ESG and sustainability world is to be able to have reliable data. So and this is where when you look at Standard & Poor's or Moody's and they issue a credit rating, everybody more or less in finance understands what is a AAA or triple A plus or whatever. Right now, the standards in terms of ESG need to evolve. And I think there will be a moment, because you know, we all know that this is a journey, that the green economy is something that it's just starting. There are different paces in the countries and in the planet. But I think at one point we will need to have these common standards to be able to talk about peers and not just what is happening right now, peers and apples in terms of ESG data. And this is coming to analytics. I think and that's why I'm very keen to always keep in mind that lady swimming in the sea and not to leave my carbon footprint in this planet. So I think data analytics is the next ball game in terms of business. I think for those statisticians and mathematicians, is the golden era right now. So if I had a child, I would promote this person to study a bit something related to this field, because it's the era of mathematics, in the sense that we never had so much data to be able to predict. Sometimes there are statistical models to help us to predict the future or predict certain models. And I think we never had so much data. And we need to be able, with analytics and trend analysis in finance, to understand, for instance, in Kneip, we have 645 millions of data points. These are data points that are very important for the asset manager, and we should be able to unleash that power of the data and use it also perhaps for SFDR. We can help certain clients to say, hey, maybe you want to understand how the market is looking like in terms of Article 8. We can give you that information. Or how are you lagging with Article 6? We can also give you that information. So I think right now, EFAMA has published recently that the 69% of the Article 9 funds are in France and in Switzerland. What is happening with the rest of the countries? So you know, this type of, the data is there, so with data analytics, we should be able to help also maybe the companies to be able to extract the data and modeling what they need.
Okay, yeah, that's, thanks. So maybe we have another 10 minutes to go. Is there any question maybe from the floor somebody would like to ask at this stage? Then I can already open up. No. Is okay, otherwise, okay, thank you.
Thank you. This is Eliseo from ADA. Before you were mentioning that it's key to get reliable data. What do you think is, what do you think are the reasons behind this issue about having reliable data?
It's a very good question. It's the $1 million question, right? So, so I think the reliability of data, it's about, I think we need to have common standards. And this is something that right now the standards are not, or are defined, but there are different degrees of standards. And so, for instance, if you take PI, there are certain companies that are providing that information. If you take, I don't know, do not harm, there is a different interpretation. If you take about ESG scoring, do we accept 1 to 5 or 1 to 7? So I think we need a bit like happened with UCITS at the time when they issued the KIDS, the Key Investor Information Disclosure document. They were so clear that the asset manager knew what needed to produce and in which terms. So I think in ESG, the beauty of this industry in terms of sustainable investment is that we are starting right now. This is a long journey, so I think we will need more standards. We will need also perhaps the data vendors to also stop squeezing us in terms of you know, making sure that they also give us a bit of green light to select other data vendors. So I have a particular example. When I was in asset management, there was, and I will not mention the names for confidentiality reasons, there was one data vendor who told me, if you want that ESG data points, if you are working with data vendor number 2, we don't accept that. And I said, listen guys, if my analysts are telling me that in order to issue an ESG fact sheet, I need all of these data points, you need to play ball, right? So I even invoke market abuse. So, so what I'm saying with that is that also the regulators perhaps have something also, not to become intrusive here, but also make sure that at least the data vendors are not squeezing the cow or skimming the cow as they are doing it right now. So it's a bit of industry forums also. Maybe we need to issue better standards, sit down together from asset management perspective and say what are the data points that we want to issue for this particular topic. So I think there is different actions that we need to take at different levels. And then the industry, we need time, because this is, if you remember when UCITS was implemented, it was 1989 in Luxembourg, the first country adopting it. Look where we are right now. And so I think also any regulation needs fine-tuning. I don't know if I answered the question.
I would like to come back to the technology topic. And could you please specify what role does technology play in current challenges in collecting and analyzing ESG data? And what's innovation on the horizon?
Another $1 million question. So, but I think technology is an enabler, right? So all these digital transformations that we are accomplishing within different companies, the technology needs a fuel, and the fuel is the data. So basically, all of this modeling that we are implementing, or even artificial intelligence, I'm sure you all know what's going on. Artificial intelligence is an iteration model, a model that goes like a mill. The more water, the quicker goes the mill. So, and this is consuming electricity. So I think we need to be very cautious when we select the technology. We need to also make sure that the vendors are explaining to us what are their KPI systems in terms of sustainability. So I think we also have to split, when you select the technology, you also need to ask the vendors, what is your sustainable strategy? And this is something that I think Mirta, here doing it Kneip, we are addressing towards the vendors and explaining, asking them, okay, if you offer certain technology and I'm going to take certain technological choice with the leadership team, let me know what are the meat on the, what is your sustainability impact. So you need to really push the vendors. So it's a question of pushing and making sure that the other party also responds to that.
This has to be a very quick question for time.
Hi, I'm Abhijit from Organics Energy. So I have one question related to the representation of data. Like if you are asked certain question and if you are getting another answer, so how you can represent those answers to the question? So.
Can you please elaborate further your question?
Yes, suppose one client have asked to analyze the data and to get answer for the question X, but you are getting answer which is not related to X, maybe something Y. So how you represent that answer to the client?
So it means that the model is giving you the different output than expected?
Yes.
We can, in terms of hallucinations, obviously, we refer very often to in the models of hallucinations. Yeah, that's obviously where you need, if it happens when you go to the client, for me, it's too late. This is something you need to spot at earlier stage, because obviously it can always happen, of course, because you cannot predict everything in advance. But I think that's why you need to go to very tough testings and make sure that you don't get to the point. And if you get to the point, obviously, you need to deal with it. But it is sometimes very challenging, I agree with you. But for me, it's a question of really testing at the maximum and thinking about all possible scenarios, which is a challenge, but I think that is for me the only answer I would have at this stage. But it happened. It happens sometimes. I understand what you mean.
In order to avoid the hallucination, now I get the question, sorry. You need to have the appropriate quality controls, obviously, in any output model. And any model needs to have a confidence interval. In risk management, for instance, the regulators requested specific confidence intervals to say, okay, we put capital aside for the bank or for the institution, right? So I think in artificial intelligence right now, if we want to go there to have a meaningful output, we need to put the discipline of modeling from the data ingestion to all the parameters selected. But then in the future, we should also, I wouldn't say regulate, but we need to set up confidence interval. In mathematics, the confidence interval is telling you how reliable is the data. 98% or 99.9%, there's millions of data points being interfered. So it's about quality control, but it's also about having confidence intervals for the models.
Thank you so much to our speakers. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.